This is a story of when I got sober. My drug of choice, not alcohol or drugs. So don't wait for any sexy stories about being arrested after riding a Ferris wheel naked, or blacking out and waking up in a Super 8 next to Matthew Perry. Nope, even though my very real addiction, my addiction is rather pathetic. See, when you jump into your unair-conditioned car to drive to Laguna Beach on a 100-plus July afternoon just so you can cruise past the hot guy at work's house for a glimpse, you have to admit to yourself you're a love addict. Let me start by stating I come from a very long line of adulterers. Cheating has been practiced on both sides of my family going back generations with both men and women. At 52, my own father finally pulled out of my grandmother that he was indeed the product of a love affair between her and the married local police chief. Sure, my family, the Becker-Deckers, have had their share of alcoholics, but the preferred drug of choice has always been dick and pussy. Like all great American families, no one has ever talked about our family legacy. However, through example, we have all learned the tricks of the trade. I started off kissing other girls' boyfriends on the playground. Not my friends, that would be classless. At 16, I moved on to blowjobs with engaged line cooks in the walk-in freezer at Denny's. Oh, at 19, I stepped it up and slept with a married regional manager of Chuck E. Cheese. Always justifying my actions by stating I didn't have to deal with the guilt. For me, the adrenaline rush of being a cheater was enough. When I moved to LA at 22, I continued my quest by pounding the comedy circuit, figuratively and literally, usually behind the improv. Then at 29, the cheater's rush finally took its toll. With the adrenaline fading to zero and my self-esteem at an all-time low, I began to resent the men who cheated with me, knowing that all they really wanted was my mouth. But when I was fired from a production company I'd worked 4 hard years to help build, many times being paid and free lunches, giving up opportunities with HBO, Ben Stiller, and MTV, because I believed the promises of loyalty would translate to a creative job, I swore off all men who just wanted to use me. Soon after, I landed an executive producer assistant job at Malcolm in the Middle and felt better about myself. Finally. Finally, I was working on a network show and with a guy who wrote for Night Court. Yes. For 6 months, I was fierce at my job. Then, I noticed him. The camera assistant with the dirty blonde surfer hair and a chin scar that begged you to be asked. His scent, a mixture of body musk and all-temperature cheer, would intoxicate my nose every time he walked by. Most of my days were spent watching him during takes when he was still deep in thought. In my thoughts, I would picture us making out in the fake bathroom on set. I tried chatting him up, but he kept his distance. I felt that familiar family legacy itch and should have stayed away, but instead befriended the camera operator, James, letting it slip I had a crush on Camera Boy. James broke the news. Camera Boy was not only married, but he had a kid. My family legacy yelled, "Who cares?" My slow-growing self-esteem yelled back, "Shut up." I walked away. Proud, I resisted. Then James told Camera Boy. The next day, Camera Boy found me. "Heard you have a crush on me." Like a fat girl finally being asked on the couple skate at a roller rink. I giggled. "I'm so sorry, I did see a ring." I'm the worst. He smiled. "It's okay, I like it." That's all my legacy needed. For the next month, we acted like 8th graders, flirting, traded notes back and forth, fly-by-hand-to-groin brushes. Each day, I multitask my way to hard nipples. We finally hooked up after hours in the writer's office. Camera boy's chin stubble drew blood on my chin. 15 minutes later, he buckled his pants, refused a goodbye kiss, exclaiming he didn't want to suck his own dick. And said goodbye. The ickiness and self-loathing hit me like frozen rain. I was back to square one, infected with utter disgust and regret. Horse-shaming myself, I gargled with some leftover forgotten Arizona tea and went home to cry. Camera boy and I revisited this scenario 3 more times before I wrote him a note lying to him that if I kept going, I might fall in love. For the first time in my life, I felt like an adult. Yes, he had been a setback, but I was grateful that it was only a minor one. To distract me from camera boy, I befriended the snarky bohemian makeup girl. She took me under her wing, advised me which crew guys to stay away from. She even tried to pry who the culprit was who rubbed my chin raw. I told her it was my cat. One day she asked if I thought camera boy was cute. I just answered, he's married. In November, my mom died. At Christmas break, I went home for the funeral. When we returned to Malcolm, camera boy had a different air about him, cockier than usual. Makeup girl, too. She wasn't flirty with the other crew guys and stopped smoking. Instead, she made fresh salads and went to the gym. Something was up. I just couldn't put my finger on it. Then I saw it. During a take of Jane Kaczmarek yelling at Frankie Muniz, makeup girl touched her scraped and raw chin flesh. Camera boy smirked. The sound sucked out of the room, and all I could hear was my own realization. He's cheating on the woman he's cheating on his wife with. My family legacy had turned on me. From that moment, I was a hawk. Somewhere deep down, I needed solid proof my instincts were right. So that Friday night, I crossed that line and followed camera boy's car out of Radford Studios all the way to makeup girl's home. When he went inside, I opened my car door and puked on the street. For the next 4 hours and 17 minutes, I waited. Every half hour, convincing myself to stay just a little bit longer. Neighborhood cats rubbed up against me. A raccoon wandered past, eyeing me as if to say, "What the fuck are you doing?" Finally, at 1:30, he emerged. Before he escaped, he turned back. "Jill, no one, okay?" She nodded. He took off. I didn't sleep or eat that weekend. On Monday, I got him alone and confessed my PI work. It was dumb, but I needed him to know I knew. He went white. Makeup girl sneered. I didn't care. I was angry and embarrassed. I sought revenge by spitting in the salads makeup girl made for him. Something had snapped in me now that I was the one being cheated on. Then after I cracked up on the 101, I finally asked for help. With my shrink's guidance, I came to understand my behavior. Partially, I was avoiding grieving for my dead mother. Partially, I was stalking because I was craving male positive attention I didn't get from my father. But mostly, I unwittingly learned to act this way because of my family's history. The next step was to make sure this legacy stopped with me for the Becker-Deckers. It didn't happen overnight. The moment I finally stopped my obsession with camera boy was when he caught me looking into his parked car for clues. Humiliation is powerful, but it's also freeing. Getting caught was my bottom, and in that moment, the need to know the truth disappeared. In the 12-year since, I've only moved up from there. In telling this humiliating story, I run the risk of being hated. I'll take it, because I'm not alone. We all have had nut jobs like me in our lives. But we all have gone nuts, too. I own what I did, and I take full responsibility. What I did was wrong, and I'll never do it again. But I hope I represented those universal moments of insanity with grace and understanding, about the time when common sense escapes us. I'm just so grateful I got back to normal before any restraining orders were issued. Thank you.